Welcome to helloai.py. Today we're going to build a teeny tiny app, and you might want to think of it as building your Hello World app in the era of artificial intelligence. We're going to use Clarifai's API to create a computer vision system that can recognize the contents of our photographs. Let's head over to the terminal. We're going to pip install Clarifai, pip install Flask, that'll be our web framework on the project, and then create a Python file, helloai.py, and open it in our text editor of choice. I'm going to begin with our imports. I've got an OS import. I've got some of my account information in environment variables. That's an optional thing, but you're definitely going to want to import from clarifai.rest the Clarifai app, and then we'll instantiate image as CL image. And I'm importing our web framework through Flask. I'm defining a variable called myAI. We're going to use this to instantiate our Clarifai app, and we're going to pass in our API key. If you're going to enter the API key directly, it'll look like that. And if you're going to use an environment variable to store your API key, it might look something like this. Now, if you don't have an API key, you're going to want to go to Clarifai, set up your account for free, and then grab an API key here. And from here, we're going to want to call on Clarifai's public general model, which will give us access to over 11,000 pre-trained concepts straight out of the box. And we're going to want to initialize our Flask app, passing in the Python's name variable, which in this case we'll call on the Hello AI module. And next we're going to set up the moving parts of our application here, where we're going to be calling on different functions based on app routing using these Flask app route decorators. The first one, very straightforward, is just going to be calling the index.html page, which we'll build in a moment here, and passing the entry of false. The second route is going to be called when the post method is used in our form. From here, we're going to define this load and predict function, and we're going to access the image URL that the user is going to enter into our form field. And from here, we can package this URL value within our CL image so that it can be used by the Clarifai system. And we'll simply declare a new variable called new image, assign it to CL image. And to capture the prediction data, we're going to create this JSON response variable, assign it to the model.predict by URL, and pass in our image URL. And finally, we'll call inputs.bulk create images, pass in our new image, uploading our image data to the Clarifai cloud. And finally, we'll return a render template in a similar style that we saw in our first app route. We're going to pass an entry of true. We'll assign image URL to image URL and JSON response to JSON response. This will correspond to what's going to happen in our HTML template. And finally, we're executing the script ourselves. So name will equal main. This condition will return true and be satisfied and cause our app to run. And with that, our logic is in place. Let's create an HTML file and get some markup together for our application. Our mission here is to provide a form field and a dynamic response based on the information entered into the form field. Our form will be using the post method, and we'll offer two different input types, a text field and a submit button. The name of the text field is URL, and this is the field that we just referenced in our Python file. And then finally, the last thing that we're going to do before we can say hello world with our application here is to enable some dynamic content to be displayed on our web page. And this is made easy courtesy of the Jinja 2 functionality that comes with our Flask web framework. We'll start with a conditional statement that evaluates to true if our variable entry is true. And then this displays an h1 tag and an image tag that we're going to pass, where you'll see these double curly braces where we'll pass the value of our image URL, and it'll display that image. And from here, we'll want to finish our app by pulling out some of the most interesting information and displaying it on our web page. And we can accomplish this by writing a standard Python-style for loop, navigating to the desired list, and then using the double curly brace notation to display the results for each entry in our JSON response. So there will be a name for each predicted concept that the model's able to identify in our image. And then we're also going to have something called the value. And then this would represent the sort of the confidence score that the model has for each given prediction. We'll close out our for loop and end our if conditional statement. We'll head back to the terminal, run our Python file, go to localhost 5000, and what do you know? Here's our application. We can enter in the URL for an image and see it now displayed on our web page. And we've got the predicted concepts and values that represent the confidence score that the model is offering for each predicted concept. It's that easy to say hello world in the age of artificial intelligence using Clarifai's Python API.